What is the vibes, family? I am back. My name is Lydia-Deborah, and here on my channel I make DIY and thrift related content. So if you like that kind of vibe, subscribe and then watch the video, and if you like what I did in the video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. All right, now for these jeans, I am going to resize them so that they fit me kind of high-waisted, and I'm going to start with removing the waistband. So let's do that. Now I have removed the waistband. I'm going to just set this aside. From here I've turned the pants inside out, as you can see, and I'm going to figure out how much I need to take in for them to sit on my waist. I'm going to pull this up to where I want it to sit, and this is just about here's the pocket. So this is just about where I would want to stitch that dart. And once I know, I'm going to take chalk and mark those both sides. And I'll need to do this on one side, because once I take the pants off, I'll just measure the distance between these two marks and do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to measure the distance between the 2 points. Say just about 3.5 inches. I want this to have the exact same placement on this side, so I'm going to measure from this point to the very middle here. That's 3 inches. So I'm going to measure 3 inches this way and mark there. And this was 3.5 inches wide, right? Almost. So I'm going to make that exact 3.5 there. That way it ends up even on both sides. And I'm marking 3.5 inches on this side. There. So now I'm going to measure, just to be sure, from this point here to the side seam, 2.5. And I'll do the same here, and I should get the same thing. 2.5. So this is as even as it gets. Now I have figured out as well how long I want the darts to be, and we are ready to fold and pin. So these 2 points are going to meet. Now the darts are in and ready to be sewn. Let's do that, and then we can try them on and see how they fit and see if we need to take them in some more. After having sewn the darts, I realized that I made a mistake, because as you can see, these seams, they no longer match. What I did to remedy this was obviously undo the entire stitch with my seam ripper and pin it back together again so that these seams do line up. And you will see that here the fabric does not line up in order to get the seams to line up. That's not a problem, because by the time we reattach the waistband, this will be hidden. So I'm going to repeat what I did here on this side and sew it back together again. And now you can see that these seams here align a whole lot better. I really like the fit. I think this is great. I'm going to start at the pockets and then start working on reattaching the waistband. It doesn't even need the waistband, to be honest, but I'll put the waistband back. To the waistband. Alright, so I started to pin the waistband back onto the jeans, starting from the front, so that I have all the excess fabric at the back. And you can see that I have a leather patch there, and you can't see anymore that it says Boss on it, but I'm not trying to get rid of it, or this tag is going to go back on the waistband as well. But first we have to get rid of all the excess fabric, so I'm cutting just about 1 centimeter away from the leather patch, because I am going to need enough for seam allowance. And I was very afraid to cut it in case I made a mistake. And I'm overlapping the waistband a little bit here and cutting just enough so that I have enough for seam allowance as well. Alright, now I'm taking the right sides, facing them together and pinning. And once I've pinned that, I'll be able to sew it and cut off the excess fabric, and we should be able to now sew our waistband back onto the waist of the jeans.
And this is why I will always say that it's a good idea to pin things before you sew them, because you will know if it will work or not. All right, now you can see that I'll be able to fold that over and sew it neatly on. It worked. Yes, I was a little skeptical for a minute, but yeah, now we're ready to stitch the waistband on, as well as that little tag. I ended up having to remove the belt loops completely before I was able to sew on the waistband, because I downsized the waist and then the loops didn't sit exactly where I wanted them to, so I just had to remove them completely and then sew them back on where I actually wanted them to sit. And yay, now everything is back on. The belt loops, the waistband, and even the tag is neatly sewn back on. Yes, I was able to preserve as much of the jeans as possible. And here is the dart stitch. I cleaned it up using the stitch on my sewing machine that best resembles a serger stitch, and the leather patch is also back on. We did a good job. Now to the legs, I wanted to preserve the original hem, so what I did was folded the pants up to the length that I wanted them to be and stitch just underneath as close as possible to the original hem as possible, so that when you fold that hem back down, look at that, it looks as if you never even cut them. So I stitched, and this is now what it looks like. If you want, you can sew a hem on the top here just to keep that down, but I never did that and it worked. Now it's time to cut off that excess fabric, and every time I'm reaching that point to cut the excess fabric, I'm always a little bit nervous, a little bit skeptical, because it's the point of no return. Once you cut off that excess fabric, if you realize you've made a mistake, it's too late. You can't do nothing about it after that. But there were no mistakes. All right, now I fold the hem down, and you can see it's going to look like we never even did anything to begin with. It looks original. Look at that. And now I am left with these excess pieces of fabric, but fear not, we are going to find use for them. See, I tried to bleach them to varying levels or varying shades, but yeah, that's what I ended up with. And I also decided to distress the edges, and I'm doing that simply by pulling one thread at a time, each individual thread, until I reach the level of distressedness that I want. Don't mind me using my hands for this step. You can use a pair of tweezers. That makes the job a whole lot easier. Yeah, so really just taking my time and pulling one thread at a time until I feel like, yeah, this is as distressed as I want it. Now I'm just trying to put them on the pants in a way that looks nice, in a way that looks cool. Just play around with it until you find, something that works. I pinned it down, and I'm opening this side seam so I'll have enough room to work when I'm stitching them on, because it would be very hard to be going from the leg or from the waist trying to stitch those on. So both sides, open them up. Yes, we need to create space to sew on those patches. And now I'm done sewing on the patches, and here I kind of left it like a pocket. I thought that would be cool. It's big enough to at least fit my phone, so yeah, you can never have too many pockets, you know what I'm saying? And now let's do something with the legs.
For the final step for these pants, I have attached, or I'm going to attach, straps that go around the ankles that can be tightened to get this kind of effect right here. I opened it up using my seam ripper, and then here I have the length of the strap. I simply take this and insert it into the opening, and then pin it on the inside here, like so. And now all I'm going to do is just sew this back, and then use these ones, 2 on each side, sewing it into here. It's going to sew this like so, and once this is sewn, I'll be able to pass this through here and then through here, and you can tighten it however much you want. But first, let's attach this. Okay, and I am finally done. I attached them in here. So I have one strap to go towards the front and one towards the back. And here I just stitched these inside a loop. So I just stitched in here, and then you just pass this through here, and then open this and pass it back through here, and then you can just pull, and voila. And we are finished.